Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Greer and it's lovely to have you here with me as always. I've mentioned in previous videos that Notion is one of my absolute favorite productivity tools, and if you're not familiar with Notion, the company describes it as a workspace that adapts to your needs, and I think that's a very accurate description. There's so many different use cases for Notion, from taking notes to managing project milestones to even running a company. It's available on many different platforms including macOS, iPadOS, iOS, Android, Windows, and if you use multiple devices, you can actually sync your Notion across those different devices. The way I use Notion is as a second brain. Now, the second brain is a term that was coined by Tiago Forte, who is a productivity guru, and it's a term that's essentially used to describe any system that you use to collect, organize, and store ideas, notes, and memories. So my aim for today is to give you an overview of how I use Notion by walking you through my current setup. I know that this can be a bit of an overwhelming tool, especially for people who are now starting out with it. So I'm hoping that this video will give you some inspiration for how you might want to use Notion and how you can integrate it into your productivity workflow. This is what I like to call my main dashboard. It's the first thing that I see whenever I open the app. I have this cover photo that adds some aesthetic value to the page. Then you'll notice that I have a widget, and this is actually giving me a quote. So every day it refreshes with a new quote. And I'm doing this courtesy of an integration called Aption. So I just wanted to quickly take you to the Aption website so that you can see that these are all of the different widgets that you can actually embed into your Notion. So you've got Spotify, weather, you can have a calendar, clock, the moon phases, time zones. There's so many different widgets. Below that, I have an excerpt from Proverbs 31. It serves as sort of a reminder of the kind of person that I am trying to be and to show up as in the world. And then the next thing you'll notice is a page called Quick Capture. This is essentially my inbox, so it serves as a storage space for any information that I want to quickly jot down or note, but that I don't have time in the moment to put into a database or a specific page. So let me show you what I mean by that. If I open the quick capture page, you can see right now I have a few things stored here. I have a book recommendation, The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin. I have an article that I want to read at some point, and then I also have a movie that I'm interested in watching at some point. And so I have specific pages where I would store all of these, but as I said, if I'm doing something at the moment, or I get a suggestion from somebody quickly, I just go into my quick capture page, jot it down, and then I'll log it in the appropriate page or database later on. So the first way that I really use Notion is as a hub for self-knowledge, and that's what you'll find in this personal section. The first page you'll see is called Goals, and this is where I store all of the goals and intentions that I have for the year. And you'll also see that there is an archive section, so I'm able to go back and look at the goals and intentions that I had for previous years. The second page in the personal section is called Guide to Greer. I've talked a lot on this channel about the importance of knowing yourself and self-discovery, and so whenever I discover something about myself, any little detail that maybe doesn't come up very often, I will jot it down in this page. The third page you'll see in the personal section is yearly reviews. Now, this is actually an idea that I got from another productivity YouTuber, Abdaal, and what it is essentially every year you take stock of what happened that year, what progress you made, what setbacks you faced, and you answer very specific questions about the year. If I go into my 2020 annual review, we can see that these are the things that you would write about. So you'd write about what you're grateful for, the people, experiences, accomplishments, material things. You'd talk about what happened during the year. You'd give sort of a big picture overview of what happened. And then you'd answer questions like, what did you learn about yourself? How did you have fun differently? What did you feel guilty for? What did you rediscover pleasure in during that year? So to the right of that, you'll see a section called Health and Lifestyle. The first page is dedicated to skincare. As someone who has struggled with acne, cystic and hormonal acne for a large part of my life, it has been very important for me to keep track of the skincare products that I'm using, what works for me, what doesn't. So as you can see, I have my current regimen, what I'm using in the morning and the evening. I also have a page for my product history, so things that I've used in the past that may or may not have worked for me. The other page in here is called product research. Whenever I come across a product that seems interesting to me that I like to try, I will just make a note of it here. The second page I'm not going to go into. It's just called wish list and shopping, and if there's something that I would like to get for myself, I will usually note it down in there. And then this one is called food. So this is where I jot down any recipes that I would like to learn, and I also have a database for specific recipes. And so as you can see, if I click on this garlic focaccia recipe, I have a page here with the ingredients, the instructions, and yeah, that is the recipes and food page in a nutshell. So now we're going to move on to the media section. I consume a lot of media, probably more than I should, but it's very useful for me to have a place where I can store suggestions and recommendations that I get from other people. So if we go into books, you can see that I have just different pages for different genres, so fiction, nonfiction, poetry, philosophy. If we open up one of these pages, let's look at fiction for example, you can see that what I'm currently doing is just making a list of and adding to that list as I go along and as I get suggestions. And once I do get to the book, I'll just check it off. The other pages in this section are very similar. So if we clicked on entertainment, what you'll see here is a similar layout to the books page, where now I have movies, shows, documentaries, music, games, and podcasts. So again, any recommendations, any suggestions that I get, I will note those down in here. The same goes for German media. At some point, I do want to be fluent in German. I was using this page a lot when I was in school learning German, and when I was abroad, I was getting a lot of recommendations from people for different shows and movies and podcasts that are in German, and so I was just making notes of those in this page. And then I also have a page for lyrics that resonate with me. This is one that I haven't really been using a lot, but I do plan on populating it a little more. Next to the media section, you'll see that there is a section called hobbies. So if we go into photography, for example, I have pages for different film stocks that I have used, notes about photos that I've taken, different cameras that I'm interested in, photo books, photography stores. Below that, we have a page for my writing, anything that I write, whether it's just a random thought that I have or something that I've written in a card to someone, any sort of musings that come to me. There's this page called guitar. I am self-taught on the guitar. I know the very basics, but if there's ever a song that I hear that I think would be great to learn on guitar, I'll write it down in here, and then I'll probably just go to like ultimateguitar.com to find the tabs. After that, we've got sneakers. I think I mentioned in previous videos that I am very much into sneakers and sneaker culture, so this page has been very useful for me as I track the sneakers that I have in my collection. And then the final page in this section is called travel. In each of these pages, I have info about places that I visited, and usually before I go on a trip, I'll make an itinerary for myself, or I'll sort of plan out the things that I'm interested in doing. So if we go into, for example, let's see, Holland, I spent a weekend in Amsterdam, and as you can see, this is everything that I did and how much it cost. So I think this is really useful just in terms of looking back on different travels that you've had, and then even making recommendations to people. If someone is traveling somewhere that you've been to and they're looking for recommendations, I can always come back here and remember what I enjoyed and make recommendations based on that. Okay, so now we're moving on to the final few sections. I have a section called school/work. I have a database here for any jobs that I apply to. I think when you're job hunting, it's good to be able to keep track of the applications that you've done and the companies that you've sent those apps out to, especially if you're applying to a lot of places. Sometimes it's easy to lose track of that information. And then the other page, grad school apps, it's very similar to the jobs database. Over in finances, the first page I have here is subscriptions. This is one that I actually find really useful for keeping track of all these services that I'm currently subscribed to. And below that, we have a page called Investing. And this is just where I store info about any research that I've done on stocks and bonds and mutual funds and that sort of thing. And then below that, I just have a section called Miscellaneous. And all of these pages are pages that don't necessarily fit into the other categories. There are also a few other pages that I haven't shown you, and those live in the sidebar. The first one here is called Resonance Calendar. This is another idea that I got from Abdaal, and it's essentially a database where I store links to all of the content that I've consumed, whether it's books, articles, podcasts, videos, interviews, any content that has resonated with me in some way and that contains any sort of wisdom that I like to have stored and reference at a later date. If I click into one of these, let's say I opened up this article about embarrassment being an integral part of the growth process, you can see that any information that I've highlighted from this article will appear here. Now, I find a table like this very useful, not only for personal reference, but also, for example, when I'm creating content where I'm looking for ideas for new YouTube videos, for example, I always have a plethora of resources to go through and look at and get inspiration from for my videos. So I highly recommend a resonance calendar, even if it's just something that you use to be able to remember what you read or to remember important information from the content that you consume. And then I also have a page dedicated to YouTube. So I think as a YouTube creator, it's very important to have a hub where you can sort through your ideas, write things down, keep track of your content and your publishing schedule. So that's what I use this page for. As you can see, I just have some quick references to the hex code for the teal that I use on my channel, a few notes about audio levels. I have this drop down here for any video ideas. And if we click on this page, Video Project Tracker for YouTubers, this is actually a template that I got from Thomas Frank, who is another productivity YouTuber. And it has just been very useful for me as I plan out my YouTube content. So highly recommend this template if you are a creator, if you're on YouTube and you need something to help you to keep track of the content that you're publishing. I have a page here called Learn, and so this is where I keep all the notes from any courses that I've taken on my own, any self-learning that I've done. And then if we go to the archive, you'll see that these are pages that I actually don't use anymore, but that I had found useful at some point. So that is my current Notion setup. This is how it's been for a few years now, and I'm thinking about giving it a bit of a facelift, but it works for now. If you enjoyed the video, remember to leave a like, subscribe, comment to let me know if you use Notion at all, if you like it, what are some of the things you use it for, and if you have any recommendations for templates or use cases that I may have missed out on but that you think I could benefit from. I'm happy to hear from you down in the comment section as always. So take good care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.